At that time, camping was particularly popular, but some places really shouldn't be visited casually. Today's story comes from the account of a netizen named Jiangxi Yuan. Over the past 2 years, many camping bases have been established across the country, which I believe everyone is familiar with. Camping has also become a trend. Netizen Xiaozhang followed the trend with friends, and they belonged to the type with more professional and complete equipment. The weekend before the Ghost Festival this year, Xiaozhang and 4 families agreed to go camping in a scenic and uninhabited area around Chengdu. Among these 4 families, 3 were parents with children, and 1 was a mother with her son. This mother is the protagonist, let's call her Mother A. On Saturday morning, everyone set out early. It took more than an hour to reach the destination. The adults set up tents and racks together, arranged the canopy, and organized a place for the children to play. The day passed in laughter and joy. But because the children were very young, except for Mother A's son who was over 8 years old, the other 3 children were only 3 or 4 years old, and they fell asleep early after playing. So the 4 mothers agreed to go back to the tent to accompany the children to sleep, and after the children fell asleep, they came out to chat and drink. The men, afraid of disturbing the children, moved things far away, set up racks, and roasted lamb legs, lamb chops, and so on. Around 8 o'clock in the evening, several mothers in the group said the children were all asleep, so they turned off the lights and slipped out. At 9:30, suddenly Mother A's phone rang. Upon seeing it was her son calling, she said, "Mom, where have you been?" At the same time, she gave a meaningful look to Xiaozhang, saying she needed to go back and check. Then they heard a wail from the phone, and the child started crying. Mother A comforted her son while running back to the tent. Everyone thought that Xiaozhang probably didn't know that the children were not familiar with this strange place, and they didn't know their mother wasn't by their side when they fell asleep, so they just comforted them nervously, and it hadn't passed yet. About 20 minutes later, Mother A came back, saying that when she went back, her son was sitting on the mat, hugging the quilt and not sleeping, and she coaxed him to sleep again. Just as she picked up her cup to toast, the phone rang again. Upon answering, she heard a hysterical scream from the other end of the phone, "Mom, Mom!" Then she immediately put down her wine glass and ran to the tent. This time, Xiaozhang also felt something was wrong and chased after with 2 other mothers. When they ran over, they found that the other 2 mothers' children were also crying. Xiaozhang saw that his own child was still sleeping and came out. Running to the front of Mother A's tent, they saw the little boy hiding in the corner by the tent door. When his mother called him, he rushed over, hugged his mother and cried, not speaking. Now he definitely couldn't sleep. His mother asked, "Did you fall asleep? Why are you up again?" The child said, "I'm scared." His mother said again, "Look, I and the aunt are all here. What are you afraid of?" But the child was obviously very scared, hiding in his mother's arms and not speaking. His mother held her son, preparing to put him back to bed to rest. But the child was unwilling to go, struggling and saying, "I won't sleep here, Mom, let's go home." At that time, Xiaozhang reacted and said to Mother A, "Now that this child has gone out, he probably has a bit of a stress response." The 2 took the child outside the tent. At this time, the other 2 mothers also stuck their heads out of the tent, saying that their children were crying. They said that someone always didn't go back to dinner and accompanied the children to sleep, letting Xiaozhang and Mother A go over there. After more than an hour of eating, everyone was ready to go back and rest, but the children just didn't want to go back to the tent to sleep, and they cried when taken there, wanting to go home. The problem was that Mother A couldn't drive after drinking, and then there was really no way, so Mother A accompanied her son and slept in the car all night. The next day, it was obvious that the little boy was very scared. Although he still played with the other children, he dared not look at the tent. It wasn't until the day after they came back that Mother A told Xiaozhang the story of that night in the group. That night, the little boy slept lightly. When he woke up for the first time, he heard footsteps in the tent. When he found that there was no one next to him, he thought his mother had got up and asked, "Mom, where have you been?" Then he only heard footsteps, and no one responded. The little boy was in the 3rd grade, so he had a certain judgment. He asked again, "Mom, why aren't you sleeping?" Then the footsteps stopped, but no one responded. He found his phone watch and made a call. At this time, his mother said she was outside going to the bathroom, and the little boy was in a panic. Who was the footsteps in the room? So he cried. Just as he was crying, his mother immediately pulled the curtain and went in. At this time, Mother A saw her son sitting on the mat and asked him why he wasn't sleeping. The little boy didn't suspect anything and thought the footsteps were the footsteps of his mother entering the room after going to the bathroom. So he didn't think much about it at the time and lay down to sleep again. Then Mother A saw that he was asleep again and quietly went out. At this time, the footsteps in the tent appeared again, and the little boy was awakened again. When he found that there was still no one next to him, he was confused and thought that his mother had gone to the bathroom again, so he didn't think much about it and continued to close his eyes and sleep. But this kind of footsteps kept walking back and forth in the tent, to be exact, it should be dragging. The little boy asked, "Mom, aren't you sleeping?" But no one answered him, still dragging and walking. He asked again, "Mom, why are you walking back and forth?" Still no one answered him. At this time, he panicked, but he had to say that he was a rational child, so he picked up the phone watch and continued to call his mother. But there was no sound of the phone in the tent, nor outside, and there was no light on the screen, but the footsteps were still there. At this time, the child was completely panicked. His mother also answered the phone, and he clearly heard that his mother was not in the tent or nearby when she answered the phone. Therefore, the child immediately felt extremely scared and cried hysterically. His mother asked him if there were footsteps in the tent. "Are you sure you didn't hear wrong?" He said very clearly, he didn't hear wrong, he could hear the footsteps, from far to near, from near to far, always turning around the mat. His mother asked him again, "Then why didn't you just pull the curtain and run out? Why are you still hiding inside?" He said. His first reaction was to call his mother first to confirm whether his mother was in the tent, and when he found out she wasn't, he wanted to run out. As a result, he couldn't find the curtain at all. He touched the place, and it didn't feel as soft as the tent. He could only choose to hide in the corner until his mother and Aunt Xiaozhang appeared. His mother asked him again, "Then why didn't you turn on the light?" The little boy said, he wanted to turn on the light, but he didn't touch the switch. Because everywhere he touched was a wall, there was nothing. Xiaozhang recalled that indeed, when he entered the tent, the place where the little boy was hiding was less than half a meter away from the switch, and he had no reason to not touch it. The other two mothers, because the children were very young and their language expression was not clear, but they always cried and said someone was scared and wanted their mother to hug. As for why Xiaojiang's child was fine, he might be like me, possessed by the fire dragon king. So, brothers, when you go camping, you should still find places with more people. Well, see you next story.